Hi, how you doing? Well, the good news is I moved a bunch of plants into the greenhouse this week, but the bad news is they all have to go back into the house this afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about what's currently frustrating me, and it all starts with that darn weather. My name is Sharon, and I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan, Zone 3. Welcome to my Sask Garden. So you can see here behind me that we still have plenty of snow left to melt. I don't think there's anything more frustrating for a cold zone gardener than April weather. I really don't. And you know, we shouldn't expect anything different unless it's perhaps May weather sometimes. I really don't. And you know, I've been gardening here in my Zone 3 garden for far too many years to be surprised at anything the weather can throw at us. But that doesn't stop you from becoming frustrated with it, and that's where I'm at today. And not just the weather, although that's a big part of it. So I started moving plants in here a few days ago, maybe close to a week ago now. I started off slow, you know, I'd come upstairs and just bring a few and put them in. And mostly what I've brought in here have been, well, the geraniums, as well as some of the perennials and the annuals that can tolerate colder nights. I have been heating in here for the nights, but overall the weather has been pretty much perfect for getting the plants acclimated to the greenhouse. And that's because it hasn't been too sunny, which would heat up the greenhouse really fast. So it hasn't been too sunny. They haven't been burning from, you know, suddenly getting too much sunshine as opposed to the LED lights. And also it hasn't been heating up in here too much. The breezes, when I get a breeze coming through, it's still pretty cool, although today is a warmer day. Yesterday and today were warmer days. So the breeze coming in was not as bad, but you know, I still have to pay attention to that. The growth is still tender, and I don't want a breeze of even 2 degrees when the wind comes through. I don't really want that hitting the plants. So the past week has been quite perfect because of that high cloud, and the night temperatures have not been too cold. So all that's gone really well. But now we're in for a spring snowstorm. It sounds like it's going to be perhaps a 2-day storm, or at the very least it's going to be all day tomorrow, starting tonight, all day tomorrow, and then going into Friday. For context, today is April 15th, and I know that north of where I live, northern Saskatchewan, and I think northern Manitoba, perhaps northern Alberta as well, have already seen snow just in the last day or two, and I think there's more on the way there. Lots of snow from what I see. There's lots of snow up north still, and as you can see, we still have it too. But you know, more moisture is on the way for us as well. And as well, the temperatures are supposed to get quite cold again. The nighttime temperatures are supposed to get to somewhere around -10, -12 C, which I think is 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, windy. It's already windy. It's blowing that storm in. It's nice and sunny right now. The clouds are supposed to start a little later. Along with the clouds is going to come much colder temperatures. So what this combination means for me and my little greenhouse is, first of all, I'm not going to bring any other plants out. Second of all, I'm going to move these all back into the house because I don't want to run the heater for 3 days straight. The reason I'd have to do that is because it's going to get so cold at night. My little heater and my greenhouse can't manage much more than 12 degrees warmer than the outside air. So if it gets to -10 tonight, you know, at best I can keep the inside here at +2 to maybe +5. I haven't really tested that out yet this year, just how warm I can keep it. So I've decided that since it's not so much, it's really only half the greenhouse at this point. Since it's not so much, we'll take it back into the house. If it were just for the night, you know, perhaps I would keep them in here. But the fact that we're gonna get a bunch of snow means it's probably going to accumulate on the roof, and along with cloud, more snow and accumulated snow on the roof, that means I'm not going to get any heat gain in here during the day. And so all day tomorrow and probably all day Friday, I'd have to run the little heater as well all day long. And so that's, you know, easy 3 days of running that little space heater straight, like just continually running. And I don't think I want to do that. So that's the first frustrating thing that's happening for me this week, is having to pull all these plants in. To be fair, you know, it's not terrible. It's really not that much, but it is carting everything back downstairs again, and then in a few days' time bringing it all back up again. And so I haven't transferred the peppers or the tomatoes or the purple bell vine, the portulaca, anything that likes warmer weather. I have not yet transferred them here into the greenhouse. It really has just been everything that that can tolerate cooler temperatures. And although geraniums like some amount of heat, they also can easily tolerate temperatures, you know, to about 4 or 5 degrees at night. So I'll just give you a look here. This is the foxglove, which has just been transplanted not too long ago. And this is the thalictrum, or the meadow rue. It's a perennial. That was from my own seed. This one is the Primula Violet Victorians. I got a dozen nice seedlings out of that. And the rest of this here is the Dusty Miller, as well as the Cherry Brandy Rudbeckia is right there. Here I have the Shamrock, or the Oxalis. There's just a dozen 6 cells of that, and then all of the onion. The onion I landed up putting just in something deeper. I did have them in the shallow cells like this here, but they were quite rooted at the bottom, so I just basically transferred them into this for deeper roots, to give the roots more room to grow. I do want to just plant them out into the garden as soon as possible. And a while back I bought bare root perennial geranium and potted them up, and they've been really enjoying their time under the grow lights and started blooming under there. There was 6 roots. I landed up getting 7 plants just because there was some that maybe were broken or something like that, some of the roots. So I did land up getting 7 pots. They're doing really nicely. I'm quite happy with this. I do like the height. I hope it stays about that height. And these are the Rowena strawberries, potted into these jumbo 6 cells, and I think these are doing exceptionally well. So no frustration with these so far. Here is the lavender. Interesting about the lavender, you'll recall that I seeded, I'm going to put these in the shade so you can see that better. These are the ones that I seeded and put under lights without any cold stratification. And then the next batch, these are the ones that I seeded and put them in the fridge for cold stratification for about 6 weeks, and then I put them under the lights. These have 6 weeks more growth than these, but the ones that I seeded without cold stratification seem to have a darker leaf than the ones that were cold stratified, and I find that interesting. There's no other difference, you know, no difference in the lighting that they were getting. And just to clarify, they are from the same seed, from the same seed package. And then just on the other side of the greenhouse are all my geraniums, the mother plants, some cuttings. Not all the cuttings, there's still a few under the lights that are not quite rooted enough to, I think, tolerate the heat and the high light that's here in the greenhouse. But these plants certainly can that are here. And another thing that's been a bit frustrating this year is this year, for the first time since 2001, which is when this greenhouse was built, it's the first year that I've experienced fairly extensive flooding inside the greenhouse. I don't know why that's happening this year. We've certainly had lots of snow before, and it will often flood a little bit or get wet a little bit. But this year, Andy has been using the shop vac to suck up water pretty much every day, and I think every day he gets 3 or 4 big tanks of water sucked up under here, and it just keeps coming in. And as I said, I'm not sure what the difference is. There is a lot of snow still on the north side of the greenhouse. Perhaps it is draining this way, but I just don't know why that has suddenly started this year. And inside the house, all my peppers are currently in the big laundry sink because I had to spray them for the second time with Endol to try and control aphids. I have aphids in my peppers, and that's frustrating me. I have had the odd bit of aphid trouble in the house downstairs pretty much all winter, but I've definitely been controlling it. I would either prune off the stems that had aphids or treat with Endol, or it just never was any kind of trouble. But it has increased just recently, and they have been attacking the peppers. There's a small, almost translucent, kind of greenish tinged little bug that kind of looks like a fungus gnat, perhaps slightly bigger. Anyways, that is what is, I'm pretty sure, is laying the eggs, the aphids, that are then trying to eat off of my little pepper plants. So I treated them again today. I have to keep a watch on the tomatoes because I have found the odd one on the tomatoes. I put a bunch more of the yellow sticky strips in there today to try and catch the adults. So that's another source of frustration for me today. Oh, and I also found a bunch of aphids on one of the regal geraniums that I also have downstairs. Those geraniums I don't look at that often because they're sort of on a bottom shelf. I mean, I look at them, but they look great. I don't water them that often because they do prefer to stay a little bit on the dry side. And when I do water, it's with a watering can with a spout, so I don't really get up in there and take a good look. But today I did get up in there and take a good look, and the interior of that plant is pretty much just infested with aphids. So I cut that plant back entirely to see if that will help stop the spread. That must be the source of where all those aphids are coming from. They originally came from a wire vine plant, I'm pretty sure. I brought in a mother plant of wire vine to take cuttings from, and that was where I kept initially finding the aphids. In hindsight, I probably should have treated that plant with Endol much sooner or gotten rid of the plant entirely, but I didn't do that, and I should have. I was just basically squishing them or washing them off under the tap or something like that. I wasn't really taking any drastic measures with that wire vine. I thought I could control them, but I should know better. I know that aphids can take control of an area pretty quick if you don't do something about it. So I mean, I'm frustrated with myself. I'm frustrated with the weather. What else? So I twisted my knee the other day. So that's been giving me a little bit of grief as well. I have to move quite gingerly and not stress that too much. Thankfully, it is not quite gardening season yet, and I still have a few weeks to try and get that to heal. So yeah, there are some days that you just kind of question why you're doing this. Today is one of those days for me. I know that'll pass. All I have to really do is go back and look at some photos of the yard. We can enjoy some here now, and this is one of the big reasons why I do garden and why I do go through this and why I do enjoy it. And when it comes down to it, I really do love the challenge of battling the prairie weather. It's frustrating when it happens, but then after you're done with it and you're into the nice days and you're enjoying your bounty, whether it's flowers or vegetables or a beautifully landscaped yard. And so whatever it is that, you know, the enjoyment that you get out of the gardening, the sense of frustration that we sometimes feel, and we all feel it, you can't show me a gardener that does not have frustrating times, or times that you just want to throw in the towel, or throw out that pot, or throw out those plants, or start all over again. But I think a big part of why we do this is because we do like the challenge, and we do like to grow things. Maybe we like to provide food for our family. Maybe we love flowers and we can't get enough of them. But even still, most of us are battling the weather at some point. It hailed here last night. We had an amazing lightning show, along with quite a bit of thunder, that rolling thunder that just didn't seem to want to stop. It was just constant, and the lightning was constant. But you know, for Zone 3 to have a hailstorm and a lightning storm in the middle of April is rather unusual. The hail was not big enough to damage anything. It did come down fairly hard, but it was smaller, maybe pea-sized hail. It wasn't very much, and I don't think there was any damage in the amount of time that it came down. And it certainly didn't bother the snow out there at all. And this is just a current state of what the vegetable garden looks like. I could get to one of the raised beds today, but well, I'd have to trudge through the snow to get there. And the rock garden is free of snow at the moment, and it certainly looks like it needs a good cleaning up. And here in the front yard, this bed is a raised bed just on the south side of the house, and it is completely free of snow as of yesterday. That's the first time. And also I don't know if you can see it, but there are lots of tulips and daffodils poking through, as well as some fritillaria. I'm a little worried about the fritillaria. Not too worried about the tulips and the daffodils. With the cold weather, chances are we'll get some snow on them before it actually gets so cold. And then there's the rest of the front yard. You could just see that it's still lots of snow for us. And so the backyard, I can't even get to it yet because of ice and snow. So anyways, so April 15th, what I have not yet started, I thought I'd go over that. In case you're wondering, I have not yet started my zinnias. They will probably get started within about a week's time. After I get everything back out here and I have room under the lights again, then I will start my zinnias. I'm not going to direct sow them because I have just 2 packages of a small amount of seed, and so I thought I would sow them indoors so that I could plant them kind of exactly where I want them. So I have not yet started the zinnias. It's not too late to plant zinnias indoors if you want to. They are actually recommended somewhere around 4 to 6 weeks, I think, to start prior to when you want to plant them out. And we're at 6 weeks now, so well, it'll be 5 weeks to what I consider safe planting out time. It'll be 5 weeks on the day that this video shows on YouTube. I also have not yet started the cucumbers, which I generally start in little pots ahead of time. I have toyed with the idea this year of just direct sowing them. So I have not yet started the cucumbers, or the squash, or the watermelon, or the honeydew melon, or the cantaloupe, or the zucchini. I've not started any of those yet, and I will start them around May 1st. Those don't need to be started too early. I generally plant them into the garden sometime around the first week of June. And so I start them indoors on a heat mat because they germinate really fast when they have that bottom heat or on a heat mat. And then I bring them in here into the greenhouse as soon as they poke up through the soil is basically when I bring them in here. The other thing I forgot to mention, and I was looking around thinking, where are my cabbages and lettuce? They're on the covered deck out of the wind and out of the heat because they like to grow cool. So they actually spent the night outside last night. The only reason that happened is because I forgot about them. So thankfully the low last night only got to 4. It didn't get too much colder than that. Cabbages, or that cabbage family, and lettuce can tolerate a little bit of frosty, like down to -2 or -3 or something like that. You'd still be pretty safe as long as they have been hardened off. I was actually hoping to plant them out before the end of April, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Hopefully it will. The weatherman is saying after April 20th that it does look like there's a better weather that is going to stay longer, and we can only hope. And I do want to get the cabbages and the kale-ette. I found the kale-ette. If you've watched the past video where I was complaining that I lost a package of seed, I have found those seeds. I seeded them, and I have some that have now germinated, and so I'm going to have kale-ette as well. So yeah, there you go. That's what I'm dealing with today. I didn't mean for it to be a downer. As a matter of fact, just talking to you, talking to the camera, talking to you guys about this. There's a fly in here. That's got to be a sign of spring. Just the fact that I have this stuff that I'm hopefully going to be planting out in the next week or so buoys my spirit and makes me feel better about gardening, and certainly just talking through it. And I think that's perhaps the key. Misery loves company, but we're all, we all experience this from time to time, and it's not a terrible thing if you're feeling that way today or yesterday or tomorrow or whenever, or in the middle of the season, sometimes we get a little downtrodden, but that feeling goes away. So talk it through with someone, or let me know in the comments how the spring storm went for you. And I'll let you know as well how it all turned out in the end for me. So I think that's it for me today. I do have to get going on carrying this stuff back into the house and getting them all back under the lights for a few days. And the greenhouse will still be here in 3 days' time. I know that. It may be a little wetter because there will be more snow to melt and flood the greenhouse, but oh well. So thanks very much for hanging out. Thanks for listening today. I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you're doing well. See you soon.